Well, hello again, friends and leaders. Welcome back to What Leaders Want. I'm your host, Jay Delling, and it's here that we peel the proverbial onion back on how leadership makes the world go around. Today's podcast is sponsored by Canatus 3, the experts in leadership development, coaching, and consulting. Canatus 3 develops people into leaders of people. And today I'm really excited. My guest is an education leader. Say hi to Rob Rotola, president of Life Prep Academy in Wichita, Kansas. Life Prep Academy is this beautiful and rich story of really giving families a great and affordable option of preparing their young man or woman for college with this just great style of academic quality under an umbrella of a godly based foundation. I love that. Rob, thanks for stopping by to talk about the impact leadership has in education and to talk about leadership in general. Welcome.
Thanks, Jay. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So your leadership story is absolutely fascinating to me, Rob. So let's break it down in segments, okay? Because there's a lot to it. And I want our viewers to really pause and understand all the different layers. So in 7th grade, your school basically went out of business. Your father restructured the school where you finished high school. Talk about that time in your life and what you learned about leadership by watching your father and how the dominoes kind of begin to fall in teaching you about servant leadership.
Okay, so I'm the oldest of 5 kids. My dad is a local pastor here in town of a church called Word of Life Church. And we moved to Wichita when I was about 3 years old, and a tiny little a church. And so my dad wanted to put us in a private school. He had a real low income, and he had found a very affordable school. It used to be called Christian Center Academy. It was on West Street in Taft. And I started there in kindergarten, and in 7th grade, that school had announced to its parents that it was going to go out of business. And it just couldn't keep up with the bills and the teachers. And like many church schools, it just really was struggling. And at the time, my dad's church had been blossoming and had, 700-800 members, and they had this dream and idea to start a school. And one thing that I learned from my dad is a lot of people in the church world or in the nonprofit world, they won't try or do anything new until it's very safe, until I got all my volunteers lined up. I got the whole budget lined up. I got the whole plan. I got a 3 and 5 year plan, and we've had 10 meetings about it. And now let's try to do something to serve the community. Unfortunately, you just never get there. And sometimes those ministries or those nonprofits end up just doing very little or never really, never really accomplishing what they set out to do. And what I saw my dad do is, the truth is he had no business starting a school. He had little bit of knowledge, limited budget, but he knew that demand was there. And he knew that even if the school started as medium quality, it was going to be serving its customers, and parents were going to want what we were going to offer. So he jumped in and just started a school. He took over our school that was going to close and added a building for elementary. And it was a new, fresh thing in Wichita. And in 99, when the school opened, that first year, we had a huge amount of students, a big influx. But the school fell on some hard times. The lady who was the principal and had founded it, unfortunately, got diagnosed with cancer right after she started and passed away shortly after that. And so the school had a rough beginning. I was in 8th grade, the very first year of the school. I learned a lot from my dad. One of the things is God honors movement. God honors doing something, and being sometimes risky, and sometimes stepping out and being willing to try something even before you have all your ducks in a row.
I love that. So you graduated from high school and played football in college. And as with many of us, career in professional sports didn't work out. Yeah. I think it was 2008 during the financial crisis. Jobs were scarce. You moved back to Wichita, where you hung out in your parents' proverbial basement playing video games. Who wouldn't want to do that if they had the chance, right? And then incredible leadership opportunity presented itself, right? So tell us about the leadership it took by taking Word of Life School, which was, as you said, losing money in 2008, into morphing it into Life Prep Academy today, where you positively impact students, you're making money, and you're growing today. Talk to us about that period of time.
Yeah, my dad instilled in me certain values, and one of those of being hard work and not giving up. And I was a really driven kid and teenager, both with sports. I played baseball my whole life. I switched to playing football in high school actually, and played quarterback and loved it and fell in love with the game. And I went to Hutch JUCO to play football, and then man, I got hit with what college football is like compared to that high school. And unfortunately, I didn't have some mental toughness, and at 19 I changed my mind and did that classic thing, and then I transferred to a school called Wheaton College up in Chicago, and went there and enjoyed my time there, and played a little bit of baseball and a little bit of football, and had a good time there. Never really saw the athletic career take off like I thought it would. And so, yeah, when I got done with college, I had a job offer to stay in Chicago, but family was so important to me. And so I moved back. I had a sister who was still two sisters who were still in elementary school at the time, because I'm the oldest of five. And so I moved back, and at first I was just for sure I wasn't going to work at the school or my dad's business. That's all I cared about. I was going to work at Coke or Cargill or Cessna or one of the big guys. And so in '08, I'm sitting there in that summer, and I'm making applications, and I get nothing, and it was crickets. And I kind of went into probably maybe what I now know maybe would have been a little bit of a depression. I was directionless. Like you said, I had reverted. I hadn't even played a single video game in 4 years of college. I was playing video games all day in my basement that I actually own my parents' house now, so it's funny. But I was playing video games in my basement, and and my dad saw that I wasn't really doing anything productive, and he asked me to be the football coach at the school. And I was like, well, I won't teach, or I don't want to work there, but I can coach football. And so I kind of jumped in to coach football. And then that first year, actually, school had even a bigger tragedy. The principal had a heart attack, and he was not able to continue on in his current role. And so my dad had asked me, and the board had asked me to, I had a finance degree and an economics, the ministry to save it, because we needed to pull out equity, or we were going to not have enough cash to keep going. And so we applied at over 50 different banks. That was the first duty I did. And it took me almost a year to get us refinanced. And we got ourselves refinanced. We got back to square one. But the school lost $700,000 the first year I was in leadership over the school. And we're talking a budget of 300,000 intake and about $1 million outtake. And the church just couldn't keep up with that kind of losses. And we only had so much equity that we had built up over the years. And so we kind of got back to square one, but we realized we were either going to close the school or it was going to be a long shot. And so they had me take over at 23 years old. And at 23, all of a sudden now I'm running a school with about 170 students and 20 something staff. And a lot of those staff were my teachers just 5 years before. And now I had to figure out how to lead us out of a huge financial hole, because the school had great ideas, but it honestly had been run by kind of too many pastors, and we needed some actual business sense in it, and to figure some things out. And so I had a certain strategy that I enacted that first couple of years, and it tended to work, and it grew over time.
So that's interesting to me, because you talked about how the leadership with pastors, and so it appears to me like you had that good balance, because I've known you for a while, and you're one of the most godly people I know, but you have this intrinsic style and ability to process business along the way. So talk about the importance of that balance.
Well, I think a lot of times in nonprofit world, people start with the charity, and they're like, running a school, you see a family with 5 kids, they need your school, they can't pay anything. And you say, well, this is why our school's here, to help this one family or help this family. And when you start with that, and you're not kind of strong, that's kind of the limited charity you're going to give. You're going to help a couple of families. When we realized that, hey, let's get our business in order first. Let's be financially independent. Let's be strong. Let's not take deals that don't work or don't make sense. And then a year, 2, 3 down the road, we're going to have the ability to help 5 or 6 families like this, not just one. And so that was the strategy I did. So it was a lot of changing the guard of what we had done in the past. I'm a 23-year-old leader at this time, and honestly, I jokingly say it was my leadership style was like, I'll clean the throw up, because I needed to earn the respect of these 40 and 50 and 60-year-olds who are now answering to a punk 23-year-old that they rightfully would have probably assumed I only got the job because, who my family was. But it was pretty quick that I was able to earn their respect. And they saw me, that I was willing to do anything, that I was working hard, that I would get there at 6 a.m. and clean their classroom before the first day of school, so it looked good or whatever. And when they saw that all of a sudden the schools start bringing in, we almost tripled our revenues within the first 3 years. And so we all of a sudden were a business in 3 years that had tripled its revenues, and it had more employees and more opportunities, and the quality was still probably a C minus, C plus, but it was a momentum thing. And schools don't grow like this overnight. Schools kind of go up and down, and it's only there's a big chicken and egg problem with schools, which is, you want to have a football team. Well, you can't have a football team without players, and you can't get players without a football team. And so you kind of have to start sometimes investing in programs that are not going to pay off for 3, 4, 5 years. And so it took us getting our finances in order so we can invest in programs like fine arts and sports and clubs and activities, which took years to pay off, but have paid off now. And now, sitting here 15 years later, the school is just in a really different spot than it was when we took it over.
Rob, in leadership, we talk all the time about influences in our life. Other people make huge impacts in our lives, right? And when it is parents at the top of that list, it makes my heart happy, right?
Yeah.
I know you're close to your mom and dad. I want you to talk about the impact and influence that your parents have made in your life.
A lot of people start out with people in Christian world or in leadership world, they have some story of a rough childhood, I have the opposite. I have was really blessed to have the kind of parents that anyone would kill for. A dad that was really hardworking, that spent his entire career serving others, that I never saw him lost his cool one time in my life. I've never heard him use profanity at me, just was a great childhood, a great father, a mother who cared so much about her family. Her mom had died at a young age. She had lost all her family memories in a big fire, and her family she didn't have really a family. She has some sisters that she's close to and a brother that had passed away. And so for my mom, I got to see the importance of building a family. Family memories, pictures, all that stuff that, when you're a kid, you're like, I want to take another picture. But now, we have this incredibly tight knit family, and an extended family of cousins and my wife's family now that is around the world. And so, setting me and the importance of family. And then also I saw my dad balance work and personal life greater than most pastors and most people I have seen. My dad was a baseball coach. He coached us hundreds of games every summer between me and my brother. He would sometimes preach with his baseball uniform under his suit so he could then rush to the game and get there by the start of the first inning for a noon game on a Sunday. So I saw the importance of that, and I have continued to do that with my kids as I coach my son in golf, and hope to have him be able to be better than me one day. So.
Great story. All right, we're at the halfway point. Now we're at the point in the podcast where we get to know Rob Rotola. So okay. I'm going to ask a question or ask you to pick between two things. All right. There are no points awarded, no prizes earned. You get nothing and you like it. All right. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Pebble Beach or Augusta National?
Oh, Augusta National. It's not even close. I would love Pebble Beach, but Augusta is like every golfer's dream come true to even just see it. I would probably pay $5,000 to just walk the course. I don't know. It would be my dream to go there one day, for sure.
I don't want to brag or anything, but I've been there 3 times.
Oh my gosh. You got to bring me next time. I promise. I'll be a good partner.
Augusta National or St. Andrews?
Oh, that's going to be a tough one there. I would love to walk across that Swilken Bridge and see the, Old Course Hotel. And man, I'm still going to pick Augusta. I know that's the birthplace of golf, but that just is not nearly as beautiful as Augusta, Georgia. And I would love to get a chance to see that golf course for sure.
All right. Would you rather have the satisfaction of hitting the green at the iconic par 3 17th hole at TPC at Sawgrass,
Okay.
or
12.
hitting the famous par 5 13th at Augusta National in 2?
Oh, you know me, Jay. I'm a long hitter. I can't hit par threes. I grew up playing baseball and football, so my golf journey is funny. I just started playing really during COVID. That's when I met you. No, I would like to go for the green in 2 and try to hit a 270-yard 3-wood into that green for sure.
I almost answered that for you. All right. Jack Nicklaus or Tiger Woods?
I am a Tiger Woods fan through and through. I know he has a gray and checkered past, but I think we all do. And really, I was, I actually learned a lot with how he came out of the struggles and the drama that he had put himself in and became a better man. And so, yeah, I would say Tiger Woods for sure.
Would you rather make a hole in one or a double eagle?
I've never had a hole in one. I think you want to make a hole in one because a hole in one, all your friends are on the tee box with you, and it's a big celebration together. A double eagle, you might be completely by yourself. I don't know. And plus, a double eagle, you usually don't see it go in. It's like a random thing. You get up there and you notice you made it. But no, I've never had either one. But I would take the hole in one. My wife Jay bought me a hole in one T-shirt because she know I love golf, but she didn't understand you can't wear that if you have a hole in. So I keep it in my golf bag. If you ever get a hole in one with me, I'm going to rip it out. I'm going to put a hole in one T-shirt on. My wife bought me 5 years ago. So.
Well, I hope you launder it every month or so.
That's
All
true.
right. For a game-winning play, would you rather throw an 80-yard touchdown pass or take the snap and run it 80 yards for a score?
Well, I did throw an 80-yard touchdown pass to win our state championship when I was in 11th grade, so I will take that one. I remember the play like it was yesterday. Jesse Denman along the left-hand side hit him in stride and front of a couple thousand fans in high school, and it was one of the strongest memories of my life. So I'll take that one.
All right, I know you have ties to New York.
Yep.
The Yankees or the Mets?
We're Yankees fans, my family. My dad grew up a Mets fan, but kind of been Yankees fans. But honestly, when Nate Robertson made the big leagues for the Tigers, I kind of became a Tigers fan because Dick, his dad, was my first boss. And so I became a hardcore Tigers fan. Now I actually like the Marlins because one of my students is on the Marlins. Jazz Chisholm, one of my former students, went to my school. He's the center fielder for the Marlins. They just made the playoffs. So I'm a Marlins fan now. Can you imagine?
All right, you got to be proud. Mariano Rivera or Derek Jeter?
I love that Mariano Rivera was able to get all the best players in the world out with one pitch. I mean, he just only had one pitch, and I will take Rivera. He was, although I think I had Jeter's jersey growing up, and I loved him, but I'll take Rivera.
I remember back when Rivera made his last appearance in Yankee Stadium, and he was taken out of the game by Derek Jeter and Andy Pettitte, and that always stuck with me. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
All right.
Yeah.
Giants or the Jets?
Oh, so my dad's from New York and our family was there, but we moved down to South Florida. So I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. I was born in Miami. I hate the Giants and the Jets. I really hate the Jets. I really hate the Jets. They're in our division. So no, I'm not a Jets fan. I'm glad the Chiefs beat them this week. So.
Okay, well that messed up my next question. So you're a Dolphins fan?
Correct. I'm randomly a Dolphins fan. My dad's teenage years were in Miami, and so when I grew up, my dad loved the Dolphins, and so you kind of love who your dad loves usually at football.
Oh, okay.
So even though
so
Dolphins fan.
So we'll go this way. Bob Greasy or Dan Marino?
Oh, I'm 37, man. Greasy is way before my age.
I'm way old though.
First game I ever watched was Dan Marino. I remember the Leon Lett game with my cousins in the snow in Thanksgiving Day. That was my first ever football game I watched in my life that I remember. And so, yeah, I'm a Dan Marino fan. And now I love Tua. Oh my gosh, Tua! What a leader and what a Christian guy. And I hope he can stay healthy because he'd be great.
All right, Rob, what is your dream foursome, dead or alive?
To play golf?
Yep.
Okay. Well, you got to start with Tiger, but I'm going to go really outside of golf for the next two. I'm going to go with Elon Musk and Donald Trump, because that would just be an unbelievable example of that's who I would take. I'll take Elon, Trump, and Tiger, and me on Augusta, and we'll play 18.
That golf course would never be the same wherever you played. All right. As I said, no points awarded, no money. You get nothing, but thanks for sharing part of your life.
Thank
All right.
you.
Back to the ranch. So every conversation I have on What Leaders Want will include the topic, my most impactful leadership moment or leadership period of time.
Mm-hmm.
You touched on it earlier. I want you to go into more detail. I know you have had several, of these impactful moments, but I want you to focus on what you call the I'll clean the throw up phase. And I know you touched on it. I want you to go deeper into it.
Okay. So when I was 23 and I'm kind of got thrust into some leadership at the school, I understood where we were at. I understood, where we stacked up against our competition. And so I was trying to figure out how could we carve out some niche in our community that serves customers better than anyone else. I wasn't going to be on my sports program I run. It wasn't going to be on all the academics in the college classes. So I looked for ways that I could, make the school better and a specific niche that we could then target. And I also, in that idea of let's clean the throw up, it literally came from that. Like, when a kid throws up in school, no one wants to clean it. We didn't even have money for a janitor back in the day. So it was like, who's going to do this? And I remember seeing my school secretary do it. And then I'm like, wow, you know what? This is an opportunity for me to do it. It doesn't need to be Miss Lisa. It needs to be Rob. And so I would be the one that would do that kind of work and try to be the, last one there. And just, try to earn the respect of the people that, some of these teachers, used to teach me when I was in middle school, and now all of a sudden they're supposed to try to, listen to me, and I'm asking them to make big changes. I'm asking them to do things differently. I'm asking them to get outside their comfort zone, to embrace new technologies, to embrace this international student program that we had created. And so it was really just a first phase of leadership, which is just kind of trying to put the school on my back and run with it as far as I could. And it worked for a period. It didn't work forever. And then you certainly can't do that for that style, I think, and grow a massive, large company with hundreds of employees. But it worked when we had 20 employees, and it was just me trying to show the staff that if I was willing to do anything for the school, and I was hoping they would then see that and work hard for the school as well.
How'd that work out? Because it's really impressive. Somebody that has that kind of perspective at such a young age, you weren't entitled, right? You were kind of mature for your age. So how did that work out down the line as you saw the people that you led look at you doing literally every conceivable job in that building?
Yeah, it worked out very well. It took time. I think when you go through a lot, we were asking these people, you gotta understand the financial situation we were in. We had times where we would cut 25 paychecks and pass out 3 of them and tell 20 something people, hey, can you wait a week to cash this check? We were in, and some people waited. I have an employee that had 20, 30 checks sitting in his desk he would cash at the end of the year. And so we're asking them, everyone was sacrificing for a vision and a thing we believed in, which is that this city needed a private Christian school that was more affordable for lower middle income families. And so I was getting them to believe in the vision. I've always been a big vision caster. That's always been my dad's strength too, is casting a vision. But it's easy to cast a vision that you make other people do the hard parts. Mm-hmm. So I realized, hey, if I'm going to cast a big vision, I'm going to do the hard parts. And then if I'm doing the hard parts, then I'm going to, get other people alongside me to help and do that as well. And so it was about inspiring them. And I'm going to tell you, when you go through that and you have a staff that has been at the bottom and gone through those struggles and those pains of those growing pains and stuff, it does make it a lot easier now in perspective to say, when we go through things now, to be like, hey, well, not as bad as it was in 08 or 09 or 10, 2010. So we people who have a long arc of the 15 years that me and the leadership of the school have been there, we have gained a lot of perspective. And I think it it allows us to continue to grow and to integrate. And as we have, taken the school to a much higher level since COVID.
Yeah. Speaking of COVID, the pandemic was a period of time, Rob, in our world that really sometimes splintered our mindset and our ways of thinking, right? And so you had what many would consider a very brazen reaction to COVID-19 back in 2020.
Yep.
Share with us what transpired upon learning of this great challenging period of time.
Well, I just like to start by saying, I respect everyone that had a different opinion in the COVID situation. I felt like it was a time that you have your opinion for you and your family. And one of the things I felt strongly I didn't really like that the government got to come in and try to say like they had an opinion for everyone. This is exactly what you got to do, regardless of who you are. I felt like they needed to give us a lot of information, but I think the group of people make the best decision with each individual member of that group making the decision that's right for them and their family. And I knew, and I had heard just from, from around that, my concept of originally growing the school through the international program, carving out a niche that we could do that's good, we were heavily reliant on international students at the time. It was 70% of our income. We're talking about, I wake up on I think it was my birthday, March 17, 2020, and our governor had just closed all the schools. And we had 130 something international students from 40 countries, all in a panic trying to get home. And they're my customers that pay me, and they're probably never coming back in my mind, and what is it going to take for me to, come back? And if it really was going to be 2 weeks, I think it would have been okay. But once it was 2 months and 4 months, I needed a new strategy. And one of the things I thought is, hey, what if we just do kind of something different than other schools are doing? And maybe parents will want that. Maybe there's parents that don't want their kindergartners in a mask. Maybe there's parents that want more common sense rules when it comes to how long you have to sit out if you maybe got contact tracing at a wedding or something. So we went to our parents and our staff and we said, we're going to have a very different approach. We are going to allow you to choose to wear a mask. We're going to allow you choose to how long your kid needs to sit out if they've been exposed to COVID, take their temperature. We, of course, asked our parents to follow, the guidelines. And what we saw is an influx of 150 new students. We saw parents beating at our door. I was giving 10 tours a day in July 2020. People trying to get their kids in our school because they understood that, life is a risk. And maybe the risk of allowing my second grader to come to school and not wear a mask, maybe that's better than my second grader having 2 years of not being educated properly or having 2 years of doing online schooling, which doesn't work for most kids. And so that strategy of saying kind of like, where is everyone else going? And then, okay, why are they going there? I heard, I was just teaching I teach American history in my school, and I was teaching just the other day, and I can't remember which founding father said it. I think it was Franklin. He said, like, when everyone is running for a cliff, the one going the opposite direction looks crazy. And that's how I kind of felt at the time, is like, other people were in such a panic, and I was a little bit more measured and calm about what the risk factors were for young kids, because the risk factors were clearly not, what it could be if it was the bubonic plague or something, right? And so I just had a different strategy. I also knew that a lot of schools were going to do online school. So to get my international students, I just found a bunch of kids who didn't want to go online. And we had over 100 transfers to our school from international, 150 new students. And we went from a school of 270 to 400 overnight during that time. And what's interesting in my industry, in the international boarding school and Christian school world, some Christian schools grew as well, but the people who were connected with international students, it was a 90% loss in our industry that year. I mean, there was no new kids coming. So many businesses closed their dorms, went out of business, schools closed. And so we were able to grow 15% our international program during the hardest time ever, because one of the things I learned from my dad is, when everyone else is looking at a circumstance and they're just worried about everything, he had this little approach he used to do where he would lay out all the bills out on the table, and we couldn't pay any of them, paychecks and bills. And he would laugh at them, like physically say, ha ha ha, laugh at the bills, change his mindset, didn't let them rule over him, realize I'm going to take this one chunk at a time. I'm going to wait. I'm going to make 5 good decisions today. And he you do that for 30 days in a row, and man, you made 150 good decisions, and you all of a sudden you're out of a hole. And so that was what I did during COVID. I worked my absolute butt off for the last 3 years. I kind of feel like I just came out of that. That phase between COVID, which then spurred us needing a new building because we grew, and then getting a new building and just moving into it. So overall, being willing to lead during a period of time when everyone else was afraid of lawsuits. I got a call from the health department, and I just said, "Hey, I feel like I have a First Amendment right to assemble and to have the freedom of speech. And our parents, it's a private school, not government funded. Our parents are choosing to come here. I don't see in the Constitution that I don't have a right to operate like our parents want us to operate." And so it was a little risky, and it certainly took a little bit of guts, but I'm really glad that me and my team did it. And out of our 70 staff members at the time, we had 0 that wanted to teach online. We had all of them realize that they wanted to stay in person, and that really paid off.
Taking risks, measured risks like you did is certainly part of leadership. So Rob, I know you're a reader, someone with a thirst for knowledge about an assortment of topics, right? You're a big fan of Who is Holding My Ladder, which is based on a solid leadership strategy, in my opinion, of having the right people in the right seats. Share with us how this relates to your culture at Life Prep Academy.
So when we blew up during COVID, we went from a school where I was directly managing all of the employees, the 40-something employees we had. All of a sudden, now we have 400 students. Our staff got up to like 80 almost overnight. And I realized I needed a better middle management strategy and a better team under me that I was giving them more authority. I think I had developed a bad habit during the first couple of years, which was thinking that they were one disaster away from going bankrupt, because we were for like many years. And so I kind of, even though after the school had gotten a lot stronger, I was micromanaging, and it wasn't working. And I'd been given a book from one of my dads, that book you referenced. And, the concept of the book is just, who is holding your ladder to allow you to go higher in business and with your school. And I looked around me, and, it wasn't that pretty. And so it took me hiring new people, and I didn't even get it right the first 2 times. I hired a leader that it didn't work out. I hired a principal that I had to let go just shortly after, and I think my staff thought I was going to fail, and that it wasn't going to work. But I was able to actually tap into some of the same things that some of the same risk taking that this board did to me, which was I found a principal. She had 15 years experience in 259, and she was amazing. Her name's Paula Rodriguez, and she came on our staff. And then I promoted 2 moms, one that had education. I made them high leaders at my school. One lady was a mom. She was on the Newton School Board. She knew school. She was a sharp businesswoman. Another mom was that she was this caring, loving person that loved the school so much. And I realized, if I have a great leader like me casting a vision, I don't think I'm that great, but a good leader casting a vision. Paula, who I wanted to say was the great leader, really knows how to run a school. And I don't micromanage. I've given her the keys to the ship. I moved into a little bit of a higher position to where I'm carrying over the flock, not managing everything. And then she has this great team of these 2 worker bees under her that really have a passion and love for the kids in the school. And this new leadership team that I've created, and then making directors of each department and giving them authority and letting them take ownership. And now we have instead of having 1 or 2 or 3 people fully bought in, like I have been for 15 years, I feel like I have 20, 30 leaders fully bought in. And we have a much higher ladder being held by more people, and the school's in the most financial strength it's ever been in, and the clearest path towards the where I want to take it that we've ever been in. And I see light at the end of the tunnel for us to be a great school.
Rob, this has been an enlightening time for me. I've learned a lot. I know the listeners have. Thanks for your time today and sharing your thoughts about leadership. It's truly an honor to get to know you better. Friends, that's a wrap. We'll put a bow on this episode of What Leaders Want. Today's podcast is sponsored by Canatus 3, the experts in leadership development, coaching, and consulting. Canatus 3 develops people into leaders of people. Until we meet again, remember, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you, my friends, are a leader. Bye now.